YouTube, welcome back. This is the Allegheny Northern in N-scale, and we are going to wrap up our switching of the town of Laurel today. This is part 4. So if you are missing the other parts, go ahead and back and watch those and see how we got to where we got to. But right now we are getting ready to move the last of the cars into the interchange yard, and because they came from a trailing point location, we do need to operate them just a little bit differently because, well, we've got to shove them into the yard instead of pushing them like we have been here. So still going to cross over main 2 to 1, and then instead of pulling into the yard here by that lead, we're going to actually run past the remaining portion of our train. We're going to head down to the far end of the yard and then shove these cars forward into the track that has the tank cars that came out of the liquid asphalt plant. So we're running past all of our switching duties. We're running past our parked train. We are occupying both the number 1 and number 2 main with this operation, and all of these moves are protected by the dispatcher. Okay, we're coming down the yard here just a little bit, and you can see we're about to make a couple onto our tank cars, and that will complete our train. Okay, so our next maneuver here is to take the cars that are destined for the furniture plant, and if you recall, in order to do that, what we've got to do is we've got to actually pull down into the liquid asphalt facility right here, and then we've got to shove forward. We'll do a little bit of street running, and then we'll drop those 3 cars, which consist of 2 bulkhead flats and a box car, and then we'll need to get our hopper cars into the cement facility. Now we're going to do that in that order because what we're going to end up having to do is we're going to end up having to shove our tanker cars back into their home before we can get access to the cement plant. And there's one other challenge, and that is the way these cars are all blocked right now. So the first cars that I need to shove are the first 3 cars, but because they've got the cement cars attached to them, I've got to actually get the cement cars out of the way. So we're going to store those onto one of the sidings down by where the 4 bridges are, so that we can deal with a limited amount of cars in the actual town where the track is a little bit more congested. So first things first, we are going to make some very, very easy maneuvers, and that is we have a crossover that is right there at the station. So we're going to use that crossover, and if you recall, we do have the T-Rex tied to the end of our train, and he is not destined for any industries here in Laurel, so we need to get him off the back of our train. And the last thing we need to do is shove one more car into our already busy town. So we're going to go ahead and get him into the yard for pickup, and then we will continue on. Okay, so we are shoving Mr. T-Rex back here, and we're just going to throw him on the end of the train. So when they come back to the yard and reblock, we'll have to make sure he is on the end. Okay, now that we've taken off the specialty cars and stored all of the outbounds, we're going to go ahead and take the furniture cars and shove them out of the way. Once clear of the switch, we're going to go ahead and shove the other cars here, the cement cars, off to the side. Okay, we are still using our authority here on the number 2 main. And we are just getting turnouts lined up. Okay, now with the set out made for the furniture plant, we can get our tank cars back, and then we'll go collect our cement cars. And now we'll run under light power back to the cement cars. Okay, so in this maneuver, we do have a few cars that are a little bit oversized for technically what would be put in this plant. So, in a cement plant, you're not going to have the full-size hoppers. They're too big. They could hold too much material, and their cement just weighs too much. So, because we needed the cars and I didn't have anything smaller, that's going to work for now. But what that did do is force us to occupy just a little bit of realty in the scrapyard there. Not a huge, huge issue here, but in future trains they'll be a little bit smaller and they won't extend quite as far. So we're going to go ahead and shove these forward, and once we get them all settled into the siding, that will mark the first switch of the entire city here in Laurel on all of the industries. So now that we've got the switching complete, a couple of lessons learned here that sort of developed as I was moving cars around, and that is obviously the correct way to do this is to block all the easy access industries, get those all pulled out and switched out, and then go for the trailing point. So the facing industries are easy. But the one thing to remember is not to set the tank cars at the liquid petroleum plant, the asphalt plant, because they obviously are in the way of switching the furniture plant. So that's important. One other thing that I left off of this video that will add some complexity is I do have a shoving platform that typically rides with this SD40-2. And I think that I opted to take it off just because I wasn't sure if I'd have enough space for one more car. And so I think this could be further complicated by adding the shoving platform and actually having to set it out of the way a few times to make maneuvers. And then also to add, more interest for the conductor. I think what I'll do is maybe install some fuses so that you would have to light a fuse in the road, turn on that switch and protect your crossing, because this is quite a unique set of track work right here, and the train does occupy multiple roads at the same time when it's coming through, and because of the number of times you're reversing and the engine's not always in the lead, so it adds some operating interest, at least as far as that goes. So all right, that's our first official operating session, I guess, as a single operator here, and a first attempt at switching an entire town. So we do have to come and build our train. It's sitting in the intermodal yard, the interchange yard. So we'll go ahead and do that, and those train cars will run off layout. They'll go back to staging, and then when they come back, they will be the cars destined for the industries we just switched, and we'll pull these cars out and trade them. So that's how this is going to operate for the time being. And then, of course, obviously I have other box cars, other tank cars, and so forth that I can switch out just for some variety. But in general, that's how we'll block these cars and switch them. And if there's any, there were a few things I know that operated were a little unprototypical. So if anybody has any comments or questions about it, go ahead and drop it down in the comment section, and we'll go from there.